Offstage, David Lee Roth is the master of the sizzling one-liner. How do you get in shape for a tour?
Well, we pump a lot of aluminum.
I know, and it's easier to take the tops off first. Now, you've trained. You certainly have trained.
No, we really don't train for this kind of a thing. I like sports, I like some kinds of athletics and things, but I'm no good at any of them. I don't have the discipline for it, you know. I was raised on a heavy diet of television and radio, and I need a commercial every 10 minutes in my life, so I've never really kept after any one thing. Most of the moves and the things that I do on stage are taken right off of television or from comic books or something where you just look at it and you go, hey, I can do that.
How do you map out a show that you're going to do?
It's a constant movement. Who needs dead space? A lot of people have nothing to say in between songs. I love talking. I love telling jokes. For me, this is just one big wet T-shirt contest, you know. And so if you stop, you're going to talk, you're going to introduce things. How many bands have you heard that get on stage and, oh, well, here's one off our 15th album. Hot dog time. Let's go get a hot dog, baby.
Drums and bass guitar for our friends out there.
I was amazed at how much the audience, the kids and all around me, and really idolized you and watched every movement and looked to you for everything that you were saying. And for the girls, I suppose it's a sex symbol. And for the guys, I got the feeling, at least from where I was, that they want to be like you, that you are such an image and a model.
I got myself a brand new Oakland scarf right here.
How does that make you feel?
Well, if there's any kind of image here, it's a non-image. Van Halen controls all of its press, all of the media. We have no fat cat manager in a three-piece suit saying, kid, cut your hair like this, and kid, do like that. We be ourselves. What you see on stage with Van Halen is only what you're going to find underneath the stage. And what you see backstage is probably what you're going to find upstairs in the hotel. You know? And it's a kind of a non-image. And that's the integrity of Van Halen, if there's any to be found. But that's the integrity, that we're actually doing what we want, that we're actually behaving the way we want to. In this interview, I say to you whatever I want. No manager outside going to tell me you should tell them this, don't tell them that, let's keep this a secret. We do what we like, and that kind of freedom is awfully difficult to come by when you're working for minimum wage. I used to work for a living, and I'll never forget it.
When you were younger, what kind of bands did you go see? Do you think you had idols, like people looked to you?
My idols were never music. I have no musical influences, so to speak. My idols were always people like Genghis Khan or Muhammad Ali or Alexander the Great or the guy who invented McDonald's hamburgers. You know, it was always somebody else far removed from music. And that's why a lot of times if you listen to Van Halen records, there's a lot of things that just seem not to have anything to do with rock and roll. That's because I've never written down any lyrics. Most of them are made up in the studio.
Is that a fact?
Well, yeah, the thing about the line going up the back of the stockings, you know, and that's what, you just make it up. You talk.
So it's a real kind of live feeling. It's
spontaneous. Van Halen's sound, if there is any design to it at all, the sound of Van Halen is meant to spill over all over your turntable and ruin the rest of your records. You know, our stuff is made to have that kind of combustion to it, that sound, and you'll lose that if you continue to go over and over and 50 times. You'll get it musically correct. Mm-hmm. But it's going to lose some of that pizzazz. It's got to have heart to it. You know, if you take a Van Halen record and you stick it in your collection, it'll melt all your other records.
I'm trying to think what my Van Halen records are next to. I think Johnny Van Zant and I don't know what else. How far along did you get in school?
I got into junior college, as far as the quad.
As far as the quad and the cafeteria.
I always knew what I wanted to do. When I was 9 years old, I got my first radio from Uncle Dave. And I put it on, and it was Ray Charles singing Crying Time Again, and I just knew I had to be on the radio.
So you do have some musical influences?
Oh, sure. I listen to the radio constantly, but there's no one specific band or artist who I want to be like him. You can innovate. You know, it's better to steal. And people say, well, you can't steal it. That's no good. That's no way to make art. Nonsense, man. Inspiration doesn't come from nowhere. You don't lay in a dark black room and suddenly a burst of light in the hand of the Lord comes out and says, here, have a song. It doesn't happen like that. You have to steal it from somebody, and you change this, you change that, you change that. If it was good enough for Beethoven, it's good enough for me.
Did you ever imagine that you would be doing exactly what you wanted to be doing, as I assume you are, doing so well at it?
I never imagined anything else. That was always my philosophy. I'm going to do exactly as I please, exactly as I want. And the same thing for the rest of the band. So it's been a steady continuum. It builds, and it's not a goal-oriented kind of thing. Van Halen has no goals. There's no pot of gold for us at the end of the rainbow. We're just here to ride the rainbow. And you're invited, but it's like, it's my rainbow, baby. And we're just going to ride it till we're out of gas, and then we'll leave it. We'll come back a week later. Maybe somebody's living in the car.
In 20 years or whatever, when we're looking back on the sound of the 70s and 80s, looking back on the rock and roll encyclopedias, how are they going to sum up Van Halen?
I think they're going to sum up Van Halen by the way I'm going to put my gravestone up, and it's going to say, here, folks, have one on me. I told you I didn't feel well.